Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to this Blue Moon race between Eninja and Dubward47 in the waxing bracket. I am Edge Dave, and joining me tonight is our restream of Neon Gray, our tracker Warlink, and my co-commentator Enth. How are you doing tonight, Enth?
I'm doing really good now that I've seen these bosses, let me tell you. We've got a very, very interesting setup already, just looking at this. First of all, we've got a tele-start, which kind of incentivizes that Mount Ordeals play that's already incentivized by the three bosses up there as well. Plus, we've got a lot of bosses that aren't really particularly that powerful, outside of maybe Val's tricky in a few spots, and then Golbez is Golbez, the Gauntlet's the Gauntlet, but this is actually a pretty easy set of things to deal with, and that actually could be a quite interesting challenge for our runners as we get going here.
I'm also looking at Boss 7, the Dark Knight. That, if it shows up at, say, K value, oh boy, could that thing hit.
Yeah, Dark Knight is really interesting because if we get a difficult Dark Knight before we find a good grind, then maybe you consider, say, taking an Edward or someone like that who can make that Dark Knight completely free. But if you get it later, then it's just a matter of making sure that you've ground up enough in order to make sure that you can just get through that spot with the health that you have. So it can just sort of be a level check at that point in time, which is also quite interesting.
That it can. So, what are you thinking when you see a telestart in Blue Moon?
I'm thinking that that enables a D-Machine grind pretty much 100% if you want that, but this is not the bracket where you care as much about a D-Machine grind, so it's probably less valuable than it is on Red Moon, if not just because, Blue Moon is... to me, it's not so much about like any sort of thing about difficulty or anything like that between the two different bracket sets, but it's sort of about berserkers versus mages in a way, because it's sort of high power gear versus low power gear. And because this is the high power thing, you kind of think, well, you kind of would almost rather find sirens in shops, whereas maybe if you were on Red Moon's side, you'd be like, well, I can keep these mages down for a while and slingshot them later. So while you can see that sort of play, it sort of ends up being a little bit less interesting than it could be over on the other side of things.
And because we only have 7 characters available, a lot of that is really determined by who else do we find.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite parts of this tournament, if you are new to the Zemus Zone 5, first of all, welcome. Secondly, this is an important thing. We have the See No Earn flag on, meaning that these free characters they check at the start are the only ones we're going to get, as we see a ninja sword being given to us by an Octomam here in Baron Castle, and that's a Rosa, so we're already pretty good on that white mage front.
Yeah, So, that's one mage. Give us a few more, and in early darkness, and yeah, D-Machine's on the table.
Absolutely. This is actually a really flexible start, too, because if we just get, all Berserkers from here, hey, there's 2 sources of Berserk that we already have in our party ready to go. So no matter what, I feel like this is actually a really good character setup, because as long as you get those levels for Rosa to get her to that Berserk, you can keep Berserkers online. You end up going mages, and you've got the Tele for the D-Machine. So I'm pretty excited to see that, personally.
There is a chance that, the big one, Cecil Edge, just not appearing in the seed.
Well, there's a Cane and a Palom, which is another bit towards mages. That Cane sort of one of, I would say, like maybe the 3rd or 4th most valuable Berserker, depending on what you actually find. So at least it's something to get you going, and it's another good thing to have that Cane with that Val on the table on the boss hunt as well.
Yes. In a full mage party, Val showing up somewhere on the moon, you're not getting through that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. It's always good to have some sort of insurance. It's also interesting to me seeing the 2 runners heading over to Mysidia right away. I've seen sort of 2 schools of thought around how to hunt your characters. I've actually seen a few people just skipping Mysidia outright and going there. But there is a Cecil here in this waterfall cave alongside an Ogre Axe as well to sort of get that Cane going. I think this is probably a Berserker time.
I have a feeling Eninja is going to be looking for a ninja in the next 2 character checks. That was a Masa out of a random chest.
Always nice to get that little bit of steal. I think, honestly, now with a full moon too as well, reminder for those of you who have seen mostly the red moon flags that on the blue moon flag set, the back row glitch is still on, so that does mean we can have back row edge as well over on that side, so that is pretty exciting. Again, if we find that edge, we're really well set up for Berserkers. You just probably get rid of that Palom, just get your 3 Berserkers good to go, and go for the best. Maybe dump off that Palom later if you feel like you're no longer getting the benefit out of that Tela.
Wrong, Edward. That's Edward, whatever his name is, rather than Edward Geraldine.
You know, personally, as far as I'm concerned, that is never the wrong Edward. You could get a spoon. We could do
That's
Spoonward. It's unlikely, but you could. You want to get through that hook route really easily? Pop a Spoonward in there. You're good.
True. I think both our runners, well, Eninja in particular, having all the edge gear is probably was probably hoping for a ninja to show up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. At this point in time, we have, what is it? 1 character check left, or is it 2 at this point? We've
1.
still got
We're down to ordeals.
Down to ordeals. Ooh, what's the odds there? It's what, 1 in 6? That's not very good odds of getting that edge.
I'm saying about 50-50. Either he's there or he's not.
Exactly. That is how this works, isn't it? It's always 50-50 when you want it to be there anyways. Sort of seeing Eninja kind of just looting out this Antlion Cave, going very loot heavy overall. Dubward has, of course, gone over to Damcian, looted down in the lower treasury, not really found much of anything, so I think Eninja's going to be our first to hit a boss here.
I would agree with that. And this looting, you have Tela. Yeah, I like looting down to the waterfall. You have exit. You can quickly get out.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the sort of things that we don't really talk about as much with this Telestart. That's also a benefit from it, as we do see a Mom Bomb over on Eninja's side as the boss down here in Antlion Cave. Access to that exit can be really, really, really helpful. Say you want to go do like an Eblin Castle Untrapped chess play, you can go check a whole bunch of those and exit out from there instead of having to walk out. It makes it a little bit faster. You can check as deep into this waterfall cave as you want and not really pay for it. It kind of opens up quite a bit,
right,
especially with Rosa, who's not going to get exit until after we do Zot, if at all.
And even smaller optimizations, like after Antlion, rather than walk the few floors out, you pop an exit and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of these sorts of plays. We see a Bahamut pop over on Dubward's side. That's probably only going to be a really big chunk of change, but we're finding a lot of big chunks of change as well. If we don't find that edge, if we don't find, say, Iridia to use that, we're actually at the point where we're like sitting on a Bahamut to sell, sitting on a Masa to sell, sitting on a Full Moon to sell. Probably we'll find a whole bunch of other useful things at this point. We're pretty good on the economy front. So we do see the split happening on Eninja's side. Should be able to get through this really easily.
Yep. And I look at having all this stuff to sell as a very good problem to have.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in these flags where you have the S standard flag on, you're likely to find sirens. That takes care of your loot grind. Maybe lowers the value of the Tela ever so slightly, at least from the start, as we are seeing Dubward's not really getting much of a payout for this deep loot, unfortunately. Only really finding a black shirt, and that's not too enticing.
Yeah, the big payout from Watery Pass was that Masa in, like, the third chest.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when that happens, isn't it?
And I would say the Ograx was the biggest payout for this party.
Speaking of big payouts, Eninja has found the hook. For those of you who have not seen much of the Zemus Zone 5, both sides of the flags, the Force Hook flag is on, meaning that all of these seeds will be hook routes, meaning that that Antlion Cave is required to get underground, as there is no magma key to lead you underground anywhere else. Dubward, meanwhile, finding an evil wall here in the Mist Cave, and obviously not going to bother with that.
Right. Given that these flags are 8 boss hunts, the checks like Mist Cave, Waterfall, they gain value because they could hold one of your objectives.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting looking at it in the context of this versus Adamant Cup, where everything was all quests. So you had people trying desperately not to go up Mount Ordeals because they don't want to deal with 3 bosses, trying desperately not to go into Baron Castle because they don't want to deal with 3 bosses and a bunch of cutscenes. And now everyone's like, I want to go to Mount Ordeals and I want to go to Baron Castle.
Yeah, the change from quest to bosses completely flips your objectives. It completely flips your priorities.
Absolutely, and it kind of leads to some interesting situations here. Is Eninja finding another full moon up here on Mount Ordeals? We are really well set there. Public treasury loot going on over on Dubward's side, and not really finding much for it.
That's the payout if Dubward goes up Ordeals. That Bahamut's going to be online.
I think at that point you consider maybe going with, I feel like if I was in that situation, I would maybe consider taking the Rydia for a while just to blast through that hook route and consider swapping out later on down the line. Although I guess we only hit 2 Berserkers, not 3. For some reason, I was thinking there was like a phantom other Berserker in there. Well, maybe get rid of that Palom.
Eddie with a spoon, does that count?
Yes, of course. That's who I was thinking, is because we were talking about Edge, and then you said wrong Edward, but my brain still committed that as, oh, we have a 3rd Berserker now. You ever have your brain, like, push something to the main branch of what you're talking about without your permission?
Oh, all the time. Oh, that's kind of rude.
I do believe Eninja just did get the run buffer off with the Star Veil, though, so getting that Mega Nuke Reflect off of the Cecil. Unfortunately, only Cecil's going to get the experience for this part, which, I mean, does help a little bit, but through that spot.
Hey, I'd rather just get through. We'll deal with XP later.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that is kind of one of those things where you're just happy to get through the spot at that point in time. As we do see Dubward finding that Dark Elf on top of Mount Hobbs and saying, no thank you. We'll see where he goes next.
I'm trying to will him towards that Rydia.
I'm kind of hoping for that as well. Dubward's going to be heading here into the Antlion Cave. We'll see how that ends up going. You see Eninja back on the move now. Apologies for any technical issues you may be experiencing on the stream choppiness end and like that. We're doing our best with that at the moment, as we are going to see him now at this point in time throwing up these life pots, going to get everyone but the Rydia back alive. So it looks like Eninja is going to go ahead and use that Rydia as an anchor, not having that Bahamut summon.
Right, that makes perfect sense. Or potentially holding that Rydia down for a slingshot if Darkness shows up here.
Definitely. We'll see what the second boss is, and that is a D-Mist on the other side. Well, it's another boss that's nice to have out of the pool at very least, because that can be really annoying later at one of those high HP locations.
Yes, it can. I'm thinking, once Dubward finds that Rydia, you think he'll just pop a Siren, gain enough MP for Bahamut and let her just blarg everything?
I think it's a question of whether or not he thinks he can just blast through a boss fight without burning a Siren. I kind of think that if you're at that point in time going to get that Rydia online, you think, well, Rydia will probably be alive through something that would get going at very least. I think while you could go for that Siren, I would be very tempted to just try and get through and then pop a Siren if it doesn't go well.
That's a good way of looking at it. We'll see soon enough.
I don't know, I think it's one of those things where that first slot on Mount Ordeals is not usually that threatening. We know that that's that's a Wyvern rather. And that could be worrying, but at the same time, it's a big question of what's going to be quicker there. And I think in a lot of cases you can just get through that spot pretty quickly.
That's fair.
Eninja still working his way through this Demist fight. Unfortunately, Demist always going to be a bit of a slog and a bit annoying to get through early on just because of not really having the damage to just knock her over before she can get into her mist form. Dubward, however, looking like he's going to go ahead and head to Fabul. So that is a pretty interesting benefit there. I wonder what's going to happen here with these sales. We are seeing some of this stuff going away, kind of just the mid-tier items, so it looks like still holding out. Mousing over that Bahamut for a second, making me very nervous.
Honestly, this is kind of why I like seeing who all 7 characters are somewhat earlier, so I know exactly what I can sell.
Yeah, I would think you could maybe sell the Leviathan here if you wanted, because you're probably not ever going to cast that Leviathan when you have the Bahamut, in my opinion. There's maybe like 1 or 2 places where I think Leviathan casts a bit faster, but does significantly less damage. I think the number of places where you're going to save time by casting Leviathan is so comically small that it's almost not worth thinking about. Is that a Dark Knight? That is our first boss.
Yep, that's an objective. And, sort of story appropriate?
Yeah, kind of, but also, importantly, this Dark Knight was one of the bosses where looking at this sort of setup boss hunts we have that we would be kind of worried about seeing at the wrong location. So having it out of the way early, a really good benefit. Dubward will have that knowledge going forward here.
And it looks like Dubward has decided, I have no time for speeches about justice.
Yeah, the spot's not too rough, really, usually. But maybe not quite doing as much damage as he thought to get through there. Palom does end up going down. Rosa down to 4 HP, but going to make it through. So gonna lose out that bit of XP on the Palom, which I don't think he's really gonna end up caring about in the long run, but is through that first boss, gets the first one knocked onto the board here, and about to see what we're going to get from the King here.
And King rewards us with... Okay, that's a boss check if either runners want to make it.
You want to check a package, kids? You want to go ahead and sit through that entire cutscene to check the one boss there? That's one of those things where if you do that, you are committing to that being the exact play that wins you the game, because it might be the exact play that loses you the game if it doesn't pay off. But Eninja through this Demus now here on top of Mount Ordeals. So that's going to be boss number 2 taken care of, going to be heading into boss number 3 and the key item check here very soon.
After slogging through Demus, I don't blame anyone for taking a safety save.
Definitely. I don't think there's too many things that could be in this room that would pose too much of a threat, especially with that Wyvern off the table, but safety is always the better play anyways. So 100% agree on taking that save at that point in time. We'll see what we're going to get here.
Maybe Laughing Man. That could be a... Ooh, that's a spicy item.
I take that. I take that Earth Crystal, I run straight to the Treasury, go ahead and rate that Treasury, as it were, and get through those 2 more boss checks, get Rosa exit. There's a Calcabrina, there is boss number 2.
So, ordeals required, which is fine because you have a tele you're running up here anyway.
Ordeals more required than implied by your choice of characters for this scene, in which you have to go out of your way to actively not have a character that's going to be buffed by Mount Ordeals in this particular party setup. One spicy thing that's worth noting on Dubward's side, as pointed out by Rowdy Roddy Sniper in chat, dumping the Cane for the Rydia at this point in time. So that's an interesting play there, an interesting choice. We don't really have anything for that Cane yet, so it might pay out more in the long run, but that's one of those little decision points that might make a big difference in the long run.
I definitely agree with taking the Rydia here, and looks like he is going to pop a Siren.
Well, all right there. We're already on top of Mount Ordeals. These Liliths up here, I believe, are the highest XP Siren targets on the entire overworld. And they're not too difficult to deal with, so going to get a good chunk, going to get that Rydia online, going to be able to blast these bosses down with Bahamut as long as we get that MP back here with those 13 levels on that Rydia.
That's... And that might... No, the Paladin's not far enough along for that to get Virus. Never mind.
Not far enough along to get Virus, but that Rydia will carry the team to the point where Paladin has Virus and can start contributing as well. So it should be a really, really good sort of bridge there as well. Oh, it's time to trade places. It looks like Eninja is going to be heading up to Fabul now.
Yep, our runners crossing each other's footpaths right now. High-fiving somewhere on the top of Ordeals.
Definitely, and this is going to leave us with two options on the overworld still. With that hook already ready to go, we can go underground anytime we want, but that Baron Inn is still there. And importantly, that Tower of Zot from the Earth Crystal plus the Treasury still there. I'm kind of wondering, you know, what do you do in this situation if you're these two runners?
I know what I'd be doing. How about you?
Yeah, I'd be going over to Zot and checking that Treasury and probably trying to get through there first and then getting dropped off right in front of Baron Inn so I can do them both at the same time.
Agreed. I would be right... Hey, you got to Cecil. That Treasury is calling. So that's a 18 chests each with about 1.5% chance of a tier 8.
Definitely, and as was pointed out by RibbonQuest in chat, you know, you go straight to Treasury and maybe change your party based on the results, which is definitely a possibility. Say you find really, really good equipment for your Cane, you find an Avenger or two, you find a White Spear, something like that. You might be tempted to say, alright, maybe I don't actually need both of these mages in my party if you're on Dubward's side. Or if you're on Ninja's side, you're like, alright, I made a very good choice not having 3 mages in my party, or 4 mages in my party at this point. So it could depend a lot on what we see there, how a lot of the seed goes from this point onwards, because if we find that power spike for that Cane, that's going to change things a little bit.
We saw Eninja decide, yeah, I'm fine with this speech about justice.
Justice is not the only right in this world. For everything else, there's MasterCard and all that stuff, and we really just don't have time for it. One thing worth noting too, Dubward has gone over to Bedward and picked up that Adamant rock, whereas Eninja has not yet. So that's another thing that's going to incentivize him heading over there.
Right, and that'll be a slight advantage, having only made one trip over to Troy rather than one for the key item and then a second for the Treasury and Zot.
Definitely. I think at this point, you know, sort of looking at how both of our runners have gone over mostly the same ground at this point, it's kind of easy to say Eninja is a little bit of a ways ahead right now. And we are finding poison axes in this shop. That's another thing that can be really, really helpful. Say you want to take out some of those things along the way. Say you've got anything else that you might want to deal with. You could pick up that poison axe and have that benefit to racial bonus for your Cecil, for your Cane at that point in time. But looks like not going to pick anything up, just going to head on straight down.
And we see here where Dubward's going to make up some time, releasing the Blarg.
Yeah, the Blarg is very strong, and Dubward is definitely making up some time just through sheer force of, well, force.
Superior firepower.
Oftentimes, the best strategy is just killing things really quickly in this particular, like, speedrun race sort of thing, in case you were wondering.
Hey, kill them quickly, they can't hurt you.
Exactly. The best defense is a good offense, and I believe it is time for treasuries here.
More Hanzo for the first chest.
defense sword and a crystal armor. That crystal armor could be
Yeah.
very, very helpful if you want to do, say, back row strats with that Cecil, or it can be a big chunk. Actually, that's 2 defense
Yep.
swords.
One for Cecil, one for Kane.
Yep.
That's a good treasury for this party. And a black belt, so you can get some strength gear on one of your characters.
Absolutely, and that's sort of depending on level, the occasional best Kane weapon, too. Unless we get something from the Supersmith. So that is a really, really good find for Eninja. I kind of feel like without, say, an Avenger or something like that, it's kind of hard to justify going back for the Kane on Dubward's side. I think Dubward's pretty committed to this party at this point, but we'll see.
I would rate that treasury pretty good for this party.
Yeah, I would say as far as treasuries that aren't going to have an X-Cal or a Crystal Sword in, it's pretty good.
Yep. Functional out of 10.
Exactly. We love a good enough out of 10 thing, as Dubward is going to take another Siren up here on top of Mount Ordeals, get that extra bit of bonus EXP. Meanwhile, it does look like Eninja is going ahead and kind of going for the chests on the way up. Tower of Zot here has picked up a life staff out of the first one, looking for that Flame Dog chest. I would imagine that bit of a chance that it drops a Crystal Sword.
I don't mind if you're looking for a shiny stick. Yep. Tag the first 2, see if Flame Dog's in one of them.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe if you're really willing to take a gamble, go a little bit out of your way and check more of them. It's kind of a low chance. It's probably not worth it, but that is one of those plays that if you make it and your opponent doesn't, can just win you a match. And with the format that we have for this tournament, with these best of ones until we get much deeper into the bracket, you only need to win that one match.
Right. It's the first 3 rounds in Wax and Moon that are single games.
Definitely. And of course, if you lose a match here, you are not out of it. You still have the chance of winning one of our 4 different championship titles that we have for this Zemus Zone 5 down in the Blue Moon waning bracket. But you have 2 chances if you're still in the waxing, so it usually is better to try and stay up as long as you can. But hey, you know, sometimes you take a risk and just decide, you know what, I can still win it all on the other side.
It looks like we are going to see, and it's Vanilla Flame Dog today.
Love to see Vanilla Flame Dog here. Going to get this down probably quite quickly once we get the swings going here. Gonna knock over the Rydia first, make sure that she's staying down on the floor as the anchor here. And gonna quickly pop a life potion just to get Rosa back on. Meanwhile, Dubward is going to go ahead and head over, get his defense sword, is going to be up his way up Tower of Zot as well. So once we get through this, Eninja's lost a little bit of the lead, but at this point in time is kind of making up some of the time.
And see if something good comes out of the dog. Now, this dog, it's harder than you'd think it does.
Yeah, I mean, the dogs, they can pose a bit of a problem if you're not really prepared for it, and I did not see what that was.
That was an Avenger.
Okay then, well, speaking of Avengers that would be nice to pop out of a random chest, I think if you're not going to get a Holy Sword, that is exactly what you want to see on Eninja's side, so that is a huge pickup.
That you could set on one of your Berserkers and set and forget for a while.
Honestly, I'm super lazy. I would just put it on Kane and just leave it there because I don't feel like menuing.
It, not even being lazy, that is actually an optimal play.
Yeah, but I'd let it go on way longer than is necessary.
Yeah, the majority of bosses don't punish you for it, and starting a fight Zerked, kind of nice.
If anything, we're kind of running out of bosses that punish you for being berserked right at the start. That Dark Knight's already off the table, Wyvern's already off the table. We're in good shape for just leave that Avenger on territory. Really, what's left at this point? D-Mist is gone.
Lunars.
Yeah, it's just D-Lunars, honestly, that I can think of off the top of my head.
Speaking of bosses, that'd be perfectly good to go in pre-Zerked.
How about the DPS race boss here at this Magus Sister spot that actually has a surprising amount of HP? This is still a free fight with those Star Veils, but maybe you want to try and hold on for those Star Veils as long as you can, not burn them when you know you're going to be hunting Golbez later on down the line. So we're going to see if Eninja can knock over this Bahamut before the count ends up here.
I see a Star Veil going up for safety. That's... You think you're going to be a little bit short? Sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, safety is always valuable. I think there's an element sometimes where you're playing this game and you're like, I want to go fast, so I'm going to take risks. But usually that doesn't pay out versus just doing that unless you are 100% sure that you're going to make it through. And yeah, there is the Mega Nuke, and there goes Bahamut.
Yep, and well, being a little safe is fine, because you know the biggest source or the biggest time loss you can take in this run is? It's taking a wipe.
Absolutely. You know, I've seen so many races and so many tournaments determined based off of who does and does not take a wipe, and I don't want to make that sound like it's always the most high pressure situation getting through every single fight, but oh, that's kind of how it ends up being sometimes, especially when we have such a increasing kind of parity at the top end of skill between all of our runners as well.
And we see on Dubward's side, Rydia looks at Bahamut and says, was it Blarg? I will show you how.
Definitely. We're going to really get a good glimpse at how strong that Bahamut is early on. But also important, we did see there is a sparkle in spot number 2 of that dwarf castle based off of that sprite here. So we know that is a 1 in, I believe, 4 chance of D-Lunars being there. So that's going to be weighing heavily on our runners' minds at this point.
Yeah, which one have we seen so far? Was it, oh, it was Wyvern.
Yeah, it was the big one.
Unfortunately, Rydia only has the gas right now for 1 Blarg.
Well, never mind, it's not D-Lunars.
Yeah, Dwarf 2, not required. Probably still a good idea, but not required.
Not required unless the key item from there is useful, but we're going to go ahead and see Eninja try and get through these D-Lunars here. They are hitting quite hard, but I don't think this should be too difficult for him.
Oh, these viruses are good. These viruses are going to hurt.
It could get scary.
Curing's not going to save you.
Oh, that's how much magic this spot has. Oh no.
Fortunately, that second virus, I think, bounced onto the flying cane.
I didn't know that could happen. I learn something new about this game every single time. Rosa is going to go down. Will we get Kane back in the air? Nope. I think this is going to be an unfortunate reset here.
Yeah, this spot has a lot of magic. Because in vanilla, they wanted to make sure Val's Weeks and Rays hit.
Right, so whenever there's just a status effect boss, they just cranked the magic all the way up to basically the highest they felt they could get away with,
and Val doesn't do any, like, damaging magic, so they didn't care. So it's just, yeah, we want to make sure these statuses hit.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that wipe does mean that Dubward has caught up at this point in time, if not taken a little tiny bit of a lead. And I think this is going to be another one of those things where having that Bahamut is really, really helpful, because you can just blow up those D-Lunars instead.
It's 6,000 HP here, split between them evenly. It's 3,000 apiece. A single Bard cast should sweep them.
Absolutely, and I think that's going to be the play here. We'll see how Dubward ends up playing it, but I think just pass to Rydia and hope for the best. Nope, gonna swing with that Cecil.
Uh-oh.
This could get spicy.
You don't want to berserk here. Because that happens.
And down goes the Rydia at this point in time, so not going to get that summon off. Rosa going to fall as well. Cecil is berserked. Tella's still alive to help out here. Cecil might be able to knock one of these over, doing pretty decent damage, but that virus is going to knock him over, and that is going to be a reset on Dubward as well.
The D-Lunars, when you use a fight command on them, and I believe it's specifically the fight command, will counter by putting walls up on both of them and then bouncing viruses for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because I think there's a temptation to look at the first swing here where it can hit for like a pretty decent amount and think, I'll take my chances with the magic, and then not remember that this is very high magic territory again because of those statuses. So
this is one of the highest magic spots on the overworld.
Yeah, one thing worth noting, as was pointed out in chat, if you get the jumps going as well off of that cane, that's not going to trigger the counter as well. We're seeing Eninja trying to attack his way through again. Might be taking another wipe here, unfortunately. That Cecil going down and the cane going down as well. This is kind of turning into a little bit of a puzzle over on Eninja's side a little bit, because he does not have a great way of dealing damage that is not attacking. So might need to try doing, as was pointed out by our tracker Warlink in chat, the sort of lunar frog strats where you just pop up a Star Veil at the right time, let them reflect their breath attack and hope it turns into a frog. Meanwhile, Dubward has that Bahamut off and is through.
Yep, Dubward deciding, I'm not playing this game, you just explode.
That's a valid strategy. That's how I like my seats to go. I'm not playing this game, I just explode.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. Oh, problem in front of me? Yeah, no. Explosions solve everything.
That's just the thing about Rydias in general, isn't it? Is they're either, an amazing anchor, they're completely useless, or you found a Bahamut in a chest and you have won the early game. So Dubward is through and going to be ready to go into this Baron in spot now.
So on Eninja's side, there are other solutions to this. You can have Cane jump. Throwing Cure 2s is an option here. The D-Lunars are undead and will take damage if you just chuck Cure 2 potions at them.
Definitely, you could, bluff up with that panel a bit and try and just get one good spell out, but we don't really have great spells. Fire 2's okay.
They're weak to fire.
Yeah, but you'd rather have something that's not going to have as long of a cast time when you're kind of worried about getting punched down that quickly as just happened.
That's very true. Yeah, the play here might actually be put up a Star Veil and let them bounce the breath back.
Definitely. Meanwhile, over on Dubward's side, we are through basically Baron in at this point. Asura in slot 2 is not going to be too threatening. Here comes the Bahamut. I think this is pretty much over at this point in time on this particular fight, and we'll see what we get from this Baron in spot.
Yeah, this Bahamut's doing more than 4,000 already. That's fine. It only has 4,000 HP. Microcorks, no. Bahamut was about halfway through Watery Pass, and Eden just stopped in the first room.
Well, this Baron in was unfortunately useless today. It was very haunted. We have gotten a Sand Ruby, which is not a useful key item in this flag set. With the See No Earn flag, that gives you absolutely nothing. And 2 bosses we didn't need for our boss hunts. All we really got for this Baron in spot were the friends we made along the way, but Dubward ready to take on that hook route.
Okay. Eninja gets through the D-Lunars. Make Cane angry was the answer.
Absolutely, and real hats off to Ninja for sort of thinking his way around that. It's a really, really good showing of how, if you have a bit of an issue with a fight, you can usually just sort of think your way around it with enough attempts.
Yep, the strategy Ninja found was jump a few times, get some damage on them, and then zerk away.
Yeah, and that's kind of got a very good amount of finesse to it, too, when you think about it, of how, you kind of have to know when to berserk at that point. But he's going to get his Artemis arrows, presumably going to be on his way through the Baron in as well. Dubward is in Castle Eblin. This is going to be very, very easy castle dive for him as long as that Rydia doesn't get punched out quickly or something.
Yeah, Bahamut can take care of all 3 chests in here. Mad Ogres do have some magic defense, but Bahamut looks and goes, yeah, I don't care.
You know, the counter to magic defense sometimes is just making your magic hit really, 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 really hard. So... Either that or I'm misremembering and summons don't bother with magic defense.
They do deal with magic defense. They just, Bahamut's got so much spell power, it blows through it.
Thank you. I was trying to remember. My brain was like, wait a second. Do summons ignore magic defense? I don't remember. There's a crystal sword.
That's a big swingy.
So here's the thing, and here's the question, is does Eninja go through this Eblan Castle check after he's done with Baron Inn? I kind of think with the struggles that he had against that D-Lunar, that's going to incentivize him to go for that crystal sword. And so while Dubward might have gotten that bit of a lead, that is going to be a good way for Eninja to sort of narrow that power gap a little bit by giving him a strong attacker to get through these fights instead of that. Dubward may have 2, but that second one is always less valuable than the first, the third one's always less valuable than the second, and so on. So a really good thing possibly for Eninja as long as he heads over to that Eblan Castle.
And I think we will see Eninja head there.
I absolutely agree, but over on Dubward's side, you want to find something else wonderful? How about an entire selection of our finest vintage from the Cave Eblan winery here with the Bacchuses ready to go? That's going to be really, really helpful later on, especially over on Dubward's side where, you know, you pick up 30 and you're, a 30 might honestly be a bit excessive on his side where he only has the one real attacker, but if you want to get Rosa attacking a little bit there with those Artemis arrows to find a good bow, you could double Berserk.
Buying some elixirs. I like that purchase if you're going heavy mages. Quick way to refill your MP?
Yeah, these are really good shops, honestly. Well, one really good item shop, more accurately, for Dubward's setup in particular. Eninja will also find benefit out of there a bit less, just because of, you know, probably just wanting to leave that Avenger on a little bit. The downside is that Eninja's going the opposite way around Eblan Castle here.
Maybe Eninja finds something good in this. There's still Power Shirts, Zeus Gauntlets.
Another Crystal Sword over on the other side. Another Avenger would be really good as well. If you have the 2 Avengers, you could just say, you know what, maybe I don't spend so much on Bacchus wines, and I just rely on those too. You never know.
Now, with 2 Avengers, you might buy a few just so you don't have to constantly be swapping.
Yeah, definitely. So Ruby's free.
No, we can't have rudeness everywhere. That would just be mean.
So here's the thing: is what's more threatening, a rude hook route or a lack of rudeness early on? That's sort of hanging over you for the rest of the seed, where you realize, oh no, I'm going to the moon. I'm going down to the Masamune spot, and I haven't seen Magus Sisters anywhere yet. Is this going to ruin my day?
I think, honestly, my opinion, it's rudeness early on. Like, rudeness on the hook route, I think, is worse. By the time I'm getting to rudeness on the moon, I usually have, again, superior firepower and can deal with it.
Definitely. Eninja picking up more Artemis arrows out of that first chest. Also getting Virus onto his Palom at this point in time, so that's a good power spike for him. Going to be heading into the second chest here, Staleman and the Skulls. Unfortunately, Palom is going to go down, having a tiny bit of a struggle getting through these chests, but not too much to worry about at this point.
And here we see the danger of berserking Cecil over Kane. When Cecil becomes extremely angry, he forgets to protect his allies.
Speaking of things that can be unexpectedly rude on a hook route, how about Dark Ends at King and Queen?
Normally a free fight, not here.
Well, with that crystal armor that I think Dubward has on that Cecil, this is basically a free fight. They're only hitting for 90. As long as Rydia does not go down before getting this Bahamut summon off, then he should be good. Right now, he's really winning the roulette. Nope, he has
Not
lost.
anymore. At Dark Imps, free in a lot of spots. Surprisingly rude there.
One thing you could consider doing is either just, manually cover that Rydia with Cecil, or if you don't want to manually cover the Rydia with Cecil, then just quickly get into a fight, knock her over, run away, and then just let Cecil cover naturally.
Oh no, Eninja took a wipe in or in the castle.
He did, and that is unfortunate, but I'm sure he'll dust himself off and head straight back there at this point. Maybe go up the other side now that he knows that that's Artemis arrows, which could save him a bit of time in the long run, as sort of kind of strange as that sounds. It's a big question here as we're seeing the hovercraft dropped off. Where is he headed?
Might be checking the Elven shop for hourglasses.
That is a possibility. That would be a good play if you're having trouble with anything. Sometimes the right move is to just look for another way around.
Yeah, see if there's an answer somewhere. I'm unfortunately not going to find them.
Definitely. Dubward, I believe, about to head into another attempt here at these Dark Imps, has shuffled around party kind of twice at this point. Is the cover going off onto the Rydia? I think we're good.
Yep. Get cover on Rydia and just let her obliterate the imps.
Okay, we should be fine. It's just a question of who's going to live through this fight. Will Rosa stay up? Will, we try and get Palom back up? Nope, we're just going to go with 3.
This spot doesn't give XP anyway.
Oh, right, it doesn't. Sometimes I forget that, because sometimes this fight is just a giant pain, and I assume that there's a reward for it.
Your reward is the second fight.
Oh boy.
Not much of a reward.
So this is karate. For those of you who have not seen much Free Enterprise,
you don't. Okay, Dub, we're gonna take a save for the karate.
Yeah, this fight is essentially free. Once he queues up his second kick in his boss script, once he gets hit once by Paladin Cecil, he just yells "ouch" and then the fight is over. So, can be pretty much entirely free here. So
yeah, if you have a tanky Cecil, you could just absorb the first few hits and absorb the punch kick, swing once and the fight ends.
Yeah, this spot's also pretty quick too, so he's not going to be spending too much time there, as this should end it. There's the ouch, we are through, and Dubward is going to be our first runner underground right around the 45-minute mark.
And we see Rydia cheering for underground access.
I feel like given the context of this fight, that's a little bit rude for Rydia to be doing at this point in time.
She's a child. Well, she's forgiven for that.
Absolutely. We will be heading through the pitfall here and seeing who the boss is on top of the tower.
Yet another runner falls victim to the pitfall. I don't know how many times we've seen that this tournament so far.
This is why you play with a push B to jump flag on. Hey, you want the Kanatsu on top of the Tower of Babel?
No.
For those of you who are newer to Free Enterprise, Kanatsu's wave scales off of his current HP, and that spot has what we would refer to as a lot of HP.
Yep, it's 4 to 6%. You know what 4% of, I believe that's 21,000 does to a party of mages?
It does to a party of anyone at this point. I don't think Cecil even has enough HP to live through it.
It does bad things to a party of mages.
So yeah, the upper Babel into lower Babel play is probably not happening for either runner at this point in time. Dubward's going to be heading over here to Dwarf Castle, about to take on these bosses, presumably, and see what we've got here. We know that this can only be one out of the remaining 5 boss hunts, because we know that second spot is a Sparkle. So if he goes for it, a little bit lower value there, but not many better options, honestly.
Oh, it is 2 key item checks. There's 2 chances at finding, say, the Darkness Crystal. Or Power Key, anything that gates more bosses.
Absolutely.
And
One thing worth noting, again, if you have only seen mostly Red Moon, one of the differences between the flag sets, I believe the Warp Glitch is on the blue side. Am I
it
remembering
is.
that correctly? Yeah. So
It is, and Rydia most certainly knows Warp, as does Tella.
absolutely. I'm having a little bit of trouble today remembering some of the tinier nuances like the Warp Glitch and like that, because I don't believe we had Warp Glitch on for Adamant Cup, now I think about it.
No boss showing, that's Antlion.
So this is... It's not haunted until we see the key item, but the value of getting a boss hunt out of the way is gone now at this point in time. We know this is just a key item check for Dubward.
We see Ninja on the trap chest. It's going to lead to a crystal sword, and through it with Cecil's last swing at this black cat.
Absolutely. Did a very good job of sort of working his way around the few problems he was having, and that will be the #1 solution to the problem here.
That crystal... Just say, that's good, I'm getting out of here, let's go.
Definitely, and he should be on his way. The only real sticking point, again, will be those Dark Imps at the King Queen spot. That's something that can really trip you up no matter where you are in the seed, because they just hit really hard, and there's 3 of them. So, you know, that Crystal Sword will pretty much trivialize the damage portion of it. Eninja not going to be able to rely on that Bahamut, so it'll be interesting to see his strategy for it.
We did see when Eninja was doing some shopping, buying 50 Bacchus wine. Clearly wanting enough wine for the after party as well.
Sometimes you just want a lot of wine, and I think that's kind of, in this case, a play to... I don't know how deep the seed is going to go, and I want to berserk really easily no matter what. So he's just got a plan around get as much wine as possible and just chug it for everywhere. I'm also being informed that that is a meme.
Yes, after Eninja did that in a race.
I like how I accidentally sort of phrased that sort of like in a Niles from Frasier sort of way there, but that was unintentional. I've been informed that this is a meme. So we're at 60 Bacchus wines there, heading up the Upper Tower of Babel, and Dubward, I believe, is through this second fight here.
Rybon, I saw 47 in Ninja's inventory, unless he drank 13 of them in Evelyn Castle. Which, I don't know.
So another thing worth noting real quick is that was Pale Dim as the Sparkle here at Dwarf Castle. We have the 2 Sparkles left on the table. We have Plague and we have Ogopogo. So anytime we see a Sparkle from here on out, we're playing that 50-50 coin flip of, is this the easy one or the not so easy one? And that's a very important coin to have in the air. Dubward has gotten the pan. It is warp time.
And remembering the warp glitch, good.
Okay, so...
And you know what?
It does not matter if Eninja does not have the thing. But yes, go ahead.
You know what? We can get underground now.
Hooray! Thank you for taking one for the team and saying the line. But again, sort of going back to that is kind of useful, because that means that if Eninja does not have access to warp, he's not really getting punished for it in the same way, because there's a chance that you might need to go down that cave in order to get to the sealed cave boss anyways. So that could end up just sort of playing out to be a wash if you have a boss down there that you might want.
Well, we do know that means the Luca key can be pretty much anywhere, because Sealed Cave is not in logic this seed.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing too, is like, it really kind of throws off your planning a little bit, because you're thinking a little bit on that. And also worth noting, Eninja sailed through those Dark Imps.
Yeah, Ninja got through a lot faster than Dubward did, so making up some time. And just left the Avenger on for karate. That's fine. Cess will just swing as the second kick gets queued and end it.
Yeah, honestly, this is really sailing through, really making up a lot of this time on Upper Babel here, and going to be underground, not too far behind Dubward. It's going to be like a 6-minute or so gap, 7-minute gap at this point, which is definitely something you can make up.
Depending on routing choices, does one find a boss earlier? This is far from over.
I think there's another good question here of how does the power scale throughout this game for our runners? Because with that cane, with the defense sword, with the Cecil, with the crystal sword, with access to Berserk for both, whereas Dubward kind of only has the one, that does change things. First things first, to answer a quick question from the chat, the coffin item will insta-kill a target that is weak to instant death. Secondly, Queen Val.
You got a crystal sword Cecil. That you could, you got crystal sword Cecil and a blink caster.
That's free adjacent.
That's beatable right now, and that's a blue robe on the other. That's blue armor on the other side. Have we seen either of them yet?
We haven't seen either. Do you check it? Just hope it's Water Hag. Do you check it first, or do you check it after? I check it first.
Blue armor, so it's
oh, blue armor. Oh, right. Yeah, no.
Officer, soldier. Have we seen either of those yet?
No.
But if you got coffins, may as well take them both. It's
honestly,
free,
yeah.
It's XP, it's a key item check. Yeah, coffins are for sale here. That's a free fight. You gotta take it.
Alright, so it does look like Dubward is going to go for this required Val first. Sometimes to your objectives is the right play. Eninja is going to go ahead and go for some eggs and get that bit of XP. That's another important difference in between what Dubward did earlier and what Eninja did earlier, is that Dubward popped both of the sirens that he had at the start on top of Mount Ordeals. Eninja did not. So Eninja going to get this boost of a bit more XP here, and that might speed him up even further than Dubward was.
I like this play for another reason. Eninja doesn't have the Tella, doesn't have the Riddy with levels. This gets Warp on Talon before Dwarf Castle.
Definitely, and there it is. That is a very, very good play on Eninja's side. Holding onto those sirens, even though having a few little struggles earlier and really seeing it pay off here with that bit of extra XP. Meanwhile, Dubward is into this Val fight. Gonna get the blink onto Cecil. This is just wait for it to end now.
Yeah, Dubward realizing, yeah, Bahamut hits really hard here. Val in tornado form is immune to magic.
Look, sometimes you get the good Val, sometimes you get the bad Val. This is the both Val. This is the good Val for Eninja and the okay Val for Dubward.
So are these the facts of Val?
Exactly. On any given day, you're either going to have a good time or a bad time with this Val fight. There is no in between. There's no okay time to have with a Val fight. So Eninja's going to be into this antlion at this point. Shouldn't have too much of a problem with it. Might even be able to Berserk and just eat the counters here. I don't remember if the spot has particularly high magic. I don't think it has.
It's got decent magic, but
okay.
It's also only something like 8800 HP, so Cecil will chew straight through it.
Exactly. Just going to go ahead and pop that Avenger on. There is Val defeated on Dubward's side for 4th boss out of 7 and a tower key, so that's good.
That incentivizes our runners to just clear both bosses on the tower.
Absolutely, because between that and pan bonking, aside from if you want to come down here to forge later on, with that pan in hand, you can complete the underground right now. At this point in time, Dubward is in a position, and Eninja, presuming Eninja follows, will both be in a position where they don't ever have to come underground again unless they want to, once they get that tower cleared out.
Unless you want to forge or poke your head in Sealed Cave.
I kind of feel like, in some ways, when you have a 7 out of 8 boss hunt, you kind of decide that some spots are ones that you're comfortable leaving off until later. And 1 is safe, everyone past 1 gets a bit riskier, I kind of feel like that sealed cave check with this setup of key items is a good second boss check to just leave until the end, because you can make sure you never come underground again.
And we see on Ninja's side the Avenger Cecil doing some work on the Paladin, and chopping straight through it.
I feel like Eninja is actually making up a really large amount of time on these fights right now. But Dubward has gotten through, and kind of the way that the advantage plays out here a little bit is that Eninja has this window before the casters start to hit like nuke levels where he has that huge advantage. Once Dubward gets nuke on those 2 casters, that advantage is basically gone. So Eninja needs to make up this time right now, and he's doing a very good job of getting there.
So we haven't seen Sirens for sale yet, have we?
We have not. And I believe Dubward did check Tomra, so that kind of is leaving a very, very few places at this point in time. That could play into Dubward's hands, too. If we don't find Sirens and you want to get a level grind, well, Eninja might not need the levels at that point in time, depending on where the bosses lay out, just through having that. But it could be D-Machine time, and by the way, Eninja can get underground now.
Yay!
I feel like we're being bullied by Twitch chat right now.
I don't think it's all Twitch chat. I think it's just Possumorpheus.
It's multiple people. For the YouTube audience, by the way, we're getting a solid say the line every time the magma key pops up, in case you're wondering. So that pan...
It's all fun anyway.
That pan did not pay off. Dubward's going to head back above ground and check the other Sheilas, it looks like, instead of going up the tower, and that might be okay.
That's an interesting play.
That's a very... Did Eninja look at who was on top of tower?
I'm not sure.
I kind of...
Eninja's stream has been kind of in and out at times. I don't know if I saw it.
Yeah, I can't recall at this point. If he didn't check that top of tower boss, he might be more incentivized to go there, because I feel like if Dubward is going up here to sort of check this, that's him saying, I am not confident in getting through that Kenatsu right now. And Eninja, if Eninja doesn't know that the Kenatsu is up there and goes for it and is able to get through at that point in time, that could be a very big advantage for him.
All right, Chad, I'm holding you to that. If we get a 3rd magma key, you're not going to request it again. Oh, Sheila won with the goods.
Darkness Crystal Legend Sword, do you go for the Supersmith? I kind of feel like on Dubward's side, not too much value in it.
I don't think there's significant value on either side. But more importantly, that's 10 key items.
Absolutely. He can go do whatever grind he wants. At this point in time, having not seen Sirens, that's probably going to be everyone's favorite grind. D-Machines at this point.
A D-Machine grind, if you don't find Sirens, I think it's a perfectly good play right now. Get your mages to their ultimate spells and go.
I would 100% agree. Maybe go Forge and just check the shop and see if there's anything good there. But head up, get those D-Machines underway. I like to joke a little bit about D-Machine, but I actually really think this is the really great play here. And then you don't have to worry about the rest of the seed. That point in time where Eninja has the advantage because Eninja's a bit more Berserk heavy and Dubward's a bit more mage heavy, disappears once that grind happens. So it really plays to Dubward's strengths with his party build to get that grind done as soon as possible.
Of course it is. No edge in the seed?
Well, there's power shirts and there's a white spear, which is okay here. And apples, which if you want to get a little bit of more health on one of your squishy mages to try and get them through, you could do that, but I don't think Dubward's going to invest there. And yeah, I think it might be grind time.
Oh, I was expecting sunrise, but Sasuke Satana, close enough.
Look, sometimes you just have things and you just go for it. Dubward is actually heading back and going to go ahead and handle this tower at this point. So again, committing hard to not having to come underground again, that kind of indicates to me that if we find a Luca key, that's going to be last location or second to last location. So for those of you wanting to see a longer race here, please hold out hope for like, I don't know, like Golbez at package, or sorry, Leviathan at package, and Mylon and friends at Luca.
Hopefully this coffin gets off quickly, or this swing goes Palin's way, because Ninja didn't save after that vow.
This might be okay, as long as this gets queued up in time. It is not unfortunate there.
So Ninja's gonna have to fight that Valvalis again.
He is, but he did kind of sail through it pretty quickly, so it's not the absolute worst thing that could have happened there. Obviously, a wipe is bad, but it won't set him massively back for doing so. And maybe we'll play that a bit safer. Maybe we'll take that out as well.
That's Dr. Luge in the Super Cannon room. Not objective.
Not an objective, but objectively annoying, because now instead of your bonk once and have it end thing, you've got like bonk 3 times and have it end, and Dubward's gonna reset?
I think Dubward said, I want nothing to do with that.
Dubward does not care what the key items are from the tower. That was a check to see if a boss was required at the Super Cannon room, and going to take his chances, presumably, with the bosses on the moon.
And before heading back up, we see Dubward sticks the landing. It's slightly overshooting the hole.
Look, who's among us has not failed to get back above ground by accidentally going slightly too far?
Oh, I've stuck the landing multiple times.
I still do every single time I play this game. Dubward is heading to race the whale. Here's the question: grind or moon play?
Might be peeking for sirens first.
I would tend to agree on that. Head up, peak sirens. If you don't have sirens,
to the giant.
Yep, exactly.
With this party, I think you want the big spells.
I would 100% agree, especially if you see all this power that we can throw that Kane's way, and you're thinking, well, if my opponent took that Kane, he might have a bit of an advantage right now, so I need to get these mages online.
Well,
so it's possible.
There is the other argument. I have a Crystal Sword, Cecil with a Power Shirt. I can just start clearing. And take the grind on the bosses up here.
That's definitely a possibility too, especially if he wants to just kind of hunt bosses instead of maybe full clearing the moon. If you want to take that little bit of a risky play, because you know that somewhere among the remaining boss locations we have an alt gauntlet, which you don't want to run into, a Golbez, which no one ever really wants to run into, but you can. No sirens in the Hummingway shop. Mylon and friends, which you kind of want to run into. Leviathan, which you're fine running into. There's a lot that could be on this moon that you need. That's really quite easy to deal with.
Yeah, alt gauntlet in the right spot. That can be a grind right there.
Who doesn't love an alt gauntlet moon grind? Of course, it could also be alt gauntlet at the Masamune altar, and then you're thinking, well,
okay,
this is not grindable.
Okay, Ninja getting through the guards a second time. Got a bit dicey at the end.
Yep, a little bit rough, but is going to pick up his crystal ring for it. So unfortunately, we do know that was a little bit of, I don't want to say wasted effort, because XP is always welcome, especially on that Palom who kind of needs the XP the most, aside from maybe Rosa on that party. But is through both of those bosses now. Let's see if he follows in Dubward's footsteps, heading back above ground after checking that first bit of pan, or if he decides to head up the tower.
I think the more efficient routing here is, poke your head in the super cannon room first because you're already here.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of trying to do lower babble as soon as possible, just as a general rule, but I think it usually ends up being about the same, especially if you can get an advantage somewhere else that helps you clear it faster. I think it depends on whether or not Eninja has the knowledge of that boss up on top. And also, speaking of, real quick, while we're having this bit of a run, Eninja's just going to pick up some more stuff here that we've already seen. Dubward heading down to the bottom of the moon for a bottom-up clear. Now's a good time for us to shout out both of our runners, Dubward47 and Eninja81. Make sure you give them a follow, as well as the rest of the Restream team behind the scenes, Neon Gray on the Restream itself, and Warlink on the tracking. Thank you to everyone who's able to make this race possible for us tonight, because this has actually been really exciting to watch. There's a lot of back and forth here.
And thank you, Ent, for joining me in the booth tonight.
Absolutely, a pleasure as always. And Eninja is heading to this tower, so it looks like he's going to go ahead and make this climb.
I like doing it now.
100%. I'm a big fan of early tower because, again, as I mentioned earlier, I am lazy, and I like not having to swap airships later. Nothing else.
That's a very good point.
What interests me... Ooh.
That's a required boss in the ribbon room. That's 200,000 experience of required boss. Oh, the magic here actually kind of hurts a bit.
A bit, but it's not unmanageable. I think this is a pretty okay thing to find here. The big question to me at this point is not necessarily whether or not Dubward's going to have too much problem clearing, as we see him just really knocking down these bosses quickly already. Taking out already about 10,000 HP, and Palom only barely falling over to this Leviathan here, is what is out of this tower. Because if Eninja clears it and gets, say, Heart Baron, and 2 out of the remaining 3 bosses is there, then that could be something that more or less throws the advantage for this entire race back into Eninja's hands. So this play could be very consequential over on his side.
Very good point. We do know that the first boss in Baron Castle is not required. Do you remember what gave us the key item an hour ago?
Absolutely, it was an Octoman.
Very good.
I've remembered for once, which is rare for me.
I've taken to noting it down because of boss hunts.
Absolutely, very important to keep extensive notes.
Although usually I just click one of the buttons on my tracker that says, "Hey, go to Baron."
Absolutely. Dubward is through this. Eninja through the Luge fight in the Super Cannon room, or at least part 1, I believe. No, that was part 2. We'll see a Pink Tail and a Luca key, so not anything particularly exciting for Dubward there.
Answer a question in chat. And this guy, I know Mist Cave was checked. It was something not required.
Waterfall Cave hasn't been, I don't think. I'm pretty sure it hasn't been. So that could be something that plays in later too. But I would say that out of everything there, Dubward kind of just got maybe the worst key item he could get, or second worst key item he could get, and third worst key item he could get. Spoon is pretty much useless to him at this point. But not really hitting anything out of there, but we can basically guarantee that there is a way through. Eninja's not doing Keinatsu.
Interesting play. I think that was just go in, check the boss. Interesting how Dubward not taking the Officer Soldier fight. Still need XP.
Still need XP, but maybe just looking for the bosses and thinking that if I find 3 bosses I need up here, it's over there.
Oh, yes! Yes!
About finding the bosses you need. Well, this will get Dubward the XP, but this is not a fun gauntlet.
Well, that depends on which side of the race you're on.
That is a very fair point. I, for one, try my best to hope for the best for our runners. This is not the best for them at this point. It's not the best at any point, but it will get you a lot of levels very quickly.
Yes, this is, with 10 key items, this is approximately 2, 3, 4, 5, 650,000.
I mean, this takes care of all your experience, 100%.
Yeah. At 10 key items, this is north of 600. Because the 3 red dragons at the end, and the last 2 fights, are more than 300k on their own. Behemoths are about 120, Evil Mask I think are 100.
Yeah, that's another 117, another 2 levels on Rydia. Rydia only up to 3 at this point, Rosa at life 2. Palom on the floor. Alright, it's time for Evil Mask number 2 on the 3rd wave of our Gauntlet special down here at the Masamune altar. Eninja is going to check this waterfall cave, so continuing to give us value and checking these things that Dubward left behind. Let's see if this is one of those bosses that we need.
It's a Sparkle, that's
Plague.
Have we seen either Plague or Rogopogo yet?
It's one or the other. It doesn't functionally matter, I don't think, at this point, because I don't think that you take either one of those fights necessarily.
No. So, single red dragon coming up next in this gauntlet. This is where things get fun.
Hey kids, you want to see your good friend Heat Ray? You're about to see your good friend Heat Ray here, as we are going to get into this red dragon fight.
Oh, but Rydia's got that crystal ring on, so there's our good friend Heat Ray.
In the face of your crystal ring.
Cecil's got something on to get through this.
I think Cecil still has the crystal armor on.
That's not going to cause it. I don't think that's enough for a 1-point hit, but
So we're gonna elixir up the Cecil and then presumably berserk him. The elixir just to get through the heat rays, or try and recover from there. But
maybe Rydia had a tiara on.
It's possible. I think Dubward is through this gauntlet.
Yeah, Cecil's got the crystal ring on, so he's taking 1 from the melee swings.
Here's the question is, how quickly do we get the damage out? Does it actually knock over these dragons, or do we just do the thing where Cecil evenly distributes his damage through both of them in the most annoying way possible?
Honestly, splitting the damage is the best thing he can do here. Because they won't heat ray unless they're alone.
Alright, we're in heat ray territory, everyone. And we're out of heat ray territory, everyone.
Unfortunately, the big payoff from this gauntlet didn't really get on the casters.
Well, you want a holy sword for your Cecil?
Oh, that Cecil's almost ready. How about everyone else?
So Eninja has hit the moon as well. Worth noting that neither runner has gone for that Keinatsu fight on top of the tower, and honestly cannot blame either one of them. The path through here could matter quite consequentially. Looks like Dubward is not going to bother with the officer soldier at this point, is going to go ahead and take the risk that one of these remaining bosses that he has access to is either Golbez or that Mylon friends.
Pretty good risk, given that you still have Giant, you have access to Luca Cave.
Definitely, I think it is a really, really good play in general, but there's always a chance, it is still a risk. Even if it's a safe risk, it's still a risk, and there's always that chance that risk goes a little bit awry, so it is something to look out for at this point.
Because right now, the only spots we don't know are Baron 2, I think I know where Golbez is.
Ooh, that is spicy. How about Golbez here at Cave Value, meaning that Dubward is going to be in go mode once he goes up there. He is being rewarded for skipping these bosses as long as he goes and checks that Cave Value.
Did Ninja skip Crystal? I'm not sure what you mean by this. Ninja just got to the moon, so hasn't had a chance to go to Crystal Sword, if that's what you're asking about Plumeria.
Yeah, did get to that Crystal Sword a bit later, but did manage to get it as well. Unfortunately, has not quite been able to make up time. Has been making very good pace on a lot of these fights. Has had a couple of snags on others. It's kind of how it goes sometimes. But we're in this Golbez fight over on his side. This is going to be his 5th boss, and once Dubward heads over there, that's probably going to be Dubward's 7th.
And good to note, both runners found a pass, so could just don't have to walk the LST a second time.
Absolutely. I believe it is still faster on Dubward's side to just head back down to the planet and go over to Troya than walk the entire subterranean after this Golbez. So
yeah, it's not even close.
One thing that is worth noting, though, is that if Eninja gets the bosses through the subterranean, gets these 3 bosses, he's going to be possibly doing it the other way around and might already be down there, and it will be faster for him to walk at that point in time.
We see Cecil and Rosa getting eaten. That's possibly the 2 worst targets from Shadow. Although
Dubward found some Magus Sisters that he's not going to deal with.
Is Eninja out of life potions?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong, but I think that we've gotten through there. I don't think we've picked up more life potions over the course of this, though. That is a scary thought. He might actually be. We'll see.
You're going to want Cecil up for this. This spot is not going to finish itself off. Golbez here needs some help.
That is unfortunate. We are going to see a Bacchus up on the cane here, and Palom going to go ahead and start going here. We'll see how quickly we can punch through this health on Eninja's side, okay. But meanwhile, Dubward is here.
A few thousand a shot, that'll be fine. Is that Kane Zerk with a white spear? Yes, he is. So, okay. Yes. Okay, this is fine.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Eninja is actually in good shape to get through all of the remaining fights at this point in time. I don't think he'll have too much of an issue getting through. The big problem is just the lack of life potions.
Yeah, lack of life potions, which is going to make that alt gauntlet kind of spooky.
Look, sometimes you do the Lunar Subterrane, alt gauntlet, and roguelike mode, and with how Eninja's been showing a great propensity for just thinking his way through these fights tonight, I think he could actually get through it.
Oh, I'm certain Eninja can.
And, hey, you like having 2, maybe not the best characters up? Dubward has his mages still up. Does have the life potions to get Cecil back online, but that is a little bit annoying there. Eninja is through the Golbez.
Mm-hmm. Gets a Moonveil, which would have been useful against Golbez.
He actually does have a Moonveil already and chose not to use it at that point in time.
He had a Starveil.
Holding on to that for... No, he has a Moonveil in his inventory too.
Right, but Starveil's good enough.
Yeah. But I was saying, you could use that Moonveil later on a potentially rough boss further in and help trivialize one of those. So that's still an okay pickup at this point in time.
That's why we wanted to see the Crystal Sword Cecil swing at Golbez. That's a quad 9s. Golbez is weak to Holy.
Yeah. Dubward's going to be through this pretty quickly. Eninja now on his way into the subterranean, into the actual boss grind here, still has that Leviathan, which I believe is at the Ribbon Room, and the Alt Gauntlet, which was down at the Masamune altar, which is a lot of fun. Still on the table. Dubward is through Golbez. That is going to be boss number 7, but Eninja is not so far behind that he could not catch up if Dubward has some issues on the Z fight.
Very true, and I don't think Ninja forgot Cecil's exit. I think Cecil was down and couldn't cast exit.
Yeah, we are out of life pots on Ninja's side, so he is playing a bit of a dangerous game at the moment where he has to get through these fights pretty much perfect on execution and with maybe a little bit of luck in a couple of cases, which he's shown that he can execute these fights well through some of the other ones that we've seen here, so we'll see how it goes.
So we do know Mylon and friends are not up here because I believe Dubward has checked every spot.
Yeah, we know that this is Maga's sisters. We have, I think, I don't recall who was at the Crystal Sword altar. We have Officer Soldier down at the, not Paladin spot, at the Plague spot, and then the two required bosses. So it is going to be a wait. Baigen, that was the other one. Ugh.
Yeah, Moon's kind of rude, except, well, I would say except for the required bosses, but that's also rude.
Leviathan's nice enough.
True.
It looks like Eninja is not going to take the remaining fights, which we know is the right call because the remaining 2 boss hunts that he needs to complete are here. And Dubward is ready to head into Troya.
Yep, and we're starting to see some Z flags in chat.
Absolutely. For those of you who are newer to Free Enterprise, first of all, welcome. We're glad to have you. Please make sure you join up the Discord, stick around the community. Wonderful people. Happy to answer any questions possible about this game. A lot of fun to play. But if you haven't seen a race before, we can't move Zeromus. First of all, there's some technical reasons. Second of all, that would be mean. That would be really mean if you run into Zeromus at the wrong spot. Third of all, he's just too iconic here at the end of the lunar subterranean where he belongs. But we're still a randomizer. So we still got to randomize something. So that does lead to the most important question that we have left in the seed. And does lead to that moment of, in the name of the Zemus Zone 5 Blue Moon, whose butt are we going to punish tonight?
And various other questions. Does it have a hat?
Is it cute? Other sorts of things. Personally, I'm a firm believer that all Zeromus sprites are cute in their own special ways.
Well, cuteness is in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly. And I behold these sprites and I say, that's good. So we've got the Tella throwing the crystal here. Ready to go. Let's see who this ends up being. Dubward has a pretty safe-ish Zeromus fight. I'll be interested in seeing what path he takes through it here.
Could be a little sketchy with some of the HP on these mages. Like a nasty counter could just drop one of them.
Absolutely nasty counter nuke. An unnerfed Big Bang could knock out all 3 of them. That is King Dice from Cuphead.
I don't think I've ever seen this Z-Sprite before.
I haven't either, but I'm a big fan. I love Cuphead. I still haven't played the DLC yet, so please no spoilers on that. But this is good. That fight is so much fun too. It's like a mini boss gauntlet, and then you get to him for the boss, which is a good way of sort of looking at this entire seed. It is sort of like a boss gauntlet before you get to Zeromus on these flags.
I think both our runners are going to be done with boss gauntlets before they get to this.
Definitely. Eninja, speaking of boss gauntlets, is on this Leviathan fight, not having any issue with it really to speak of. It is hitting a little bit hard on that Cecil, but should be through it with ease. Meanwhile, Dubward in the first spots of the Zeromus fight here should be okay to go. Bouncing viruses with Palom, that's how little bit low of levels we are on the way here.
We do see on Eninja's side, as long as you keep the HP up, Ice 2 just doesn't have the power to punch through, well, anyone.
Yeah, it's just... Leviathan, unfortunately, kind of suffers a little bit from what I would refer to as late mid-game boss syndrome in this game, where if you move it to a different spot, it goes from being threatening where it should be in vanilla into being just kind of not too much of a threat. You know, you think of like Asura does the same thing, Odin does the same thing unless he's in a really high HP spot, that whole kind of issue. And Eninja threw it with ease.
1, 2, 3. Huh? Okay, so I thought Eninja was at 10 key items. Apparently not, because I only gave 100,000 XP.
Oh yeah, no, Eninja has gone a bit of a faster key item route through here. at the expense of not getting the same XP, which is a little bit unfortunate in this case, but will be on his way down to this required gauntlet. This is the real big question: is can Dubward get through the rest of the Z fight cleanly? It's going pretty well for him at this point in time. And if not, can Eninja get through this gauntlet cleanly enough to get to that fight?
Right. Dubward's going to have to nerf Big Bangs. I don't think he's got the damage to just go straight through the fight.
I would tend to agree. You could also, in the spirit of King Dice, roll said dice and just decide, you know what? I'm going to go as high of HP as I can into each Big Bang, and I'm just going to hope Rosa lives. That is a possibility that you could do. It doesn't always pay off, but you could hold out for a low roll, or you could just decide maybe the Cecil's going to knock out the boss before we really get any further than that.
That's a good way of looking at it. And we're rolling the dice now, I believe. That's not the roll you were looking for.
It's not the roll you were looking for. It's now a question of, can the Cecil do enough damage? There are rocks. I think we're fine.
Yeah, we are good. I underestimated the damage coming out. Yeah, Cecil can't die to the next Meteo. And we don't even see it. That should be the crack, bang, boom. Cecil bringing it home.
Absolutely. It does look like Dubward is going to be our winner of tonight's race. A very, very well-run race from him. A very well-run race from Eninja as well. Working his way through this gauntlet without life potions, I will add. Perfectly fine over on that side. Not quite to the really scary parts at the end of it, but doing a very good job. We'll see if Dubward wants to join in for an interview here in a couple moments, but GG's to him, going to be moving on to the round of 32.
I'm not sure I would zerk up the king here. You want to minimize damage coming into this behemoth.
Definitely, it is a little bit scary. That must be hard to roll by tonight. Dubward, first of all, GG's. Congratulations on moving into the round of 32.
Thank you.
So, yeah, speaking of which, how about that open focus spot?
There's a little bit of panic there, but thankfully, has some levels on Cecil, and that crystal sword power sure could just do some damage, I guess.
That it can.
Yeah. But yeah, very few times have I taken that gauntlet, so good to practice that.
So, a question I have, because it was a little bit of a difference between your two styles of getting through this. You went a much more mage-heavy party. Eninja did end up keeping the cane and ditching the Tella, then using Rydia as an anchor. What sort of went into your thoughts for the party composition for getting through this seed?
Well, I know this does kind of skew towards the mages. I mean, as long as you get those levels, and you know, you could do some damage. And reflect threats obviously are something I probably need to work on. But no, yeah, I can't stand Kane. He's out automatically as soon as I picked him up. I knew he wasn't gonna make it. And yeah, I just hoped and prayed for that to get Palom and Rydia up there. That Bahamut summon, I think, really sealed the deal for Rydia. It was like, yeah, that's guaranteed. She's coming with me. And then obviously a white mage. So yeah, I'm happy with Palom. I'm happy with Rydia. Cecil with a crystal sword. You can't go wrong.
Definitely, and I think really you kind of showed the kind of power that you can really get out of a mage seed there. What were your thoughts in terms of when you went and found that crystal sword and like that? Were you sort of like, all right, this is pretty much going to carry me through the rest of the seed 100%, or were you sort of thinking maybe I should still keep looking for a couple other things at this point?
Like a starter's rounds, you know, just to help out and help out Rydia, help out. I mean, the power stats galore in this seed, it seemed like, but I was like, I'll do my best with what I got. And yeah, with all the looting I had done and everything, I was like, once you get that crystal sword, it's kind of a wrap. Just Bahamut, crystal sword, hopefully everything can go well. So yeah, I felt good after that arc. I'm curious whatever the other loot in that one was.
I think it was a Moonveil and Artemis arrows and the other traps.
Ooh. So yeah, definitely glad I didn't take those. I mean, the levels would have been cool. That Dimps fight was sloppy, you know, and Yang too. That Yang fight wasn't the greatest, but yeah, I felt okay. You know, a lot of things I still got to work on. A lot of homework to do. So.
Right, and so with that, you are going to be heading into the round of 32 here in the Blue Moon Waxing Bracket. Are you looking forward to your match next week?
No, not at all. It's going to be easy pickings for whoever that is. I'm sure. A lot to work on to get competitive with that opponent, I imagine. So yeah, pretty terrified.
I'll be able to see who your opponent is next week.
Yeah. I'm very curious. Yeah. Again, not looking forward to it. It's an easy win, I think, for the other player. But keep at it. I think my biggest opponent is myself, so just gonna keep working on little things, clean up here and there, and hopefully put on some sort of a competition. But yeah.
Well, I think if you play as well as you did today, you're gonna definitely give us a very good show next week as well. Dave, did you have any questions for Dubward?
I think we've covered the important things. Just wanted was there any thought of taking any additional grind on to get the mages up to their ultimates, or was it you just thinking, yeah, Cecil's got power, he could just get through Zemus on his own?
Those birds and officers fight was kind of appealing, but I was like, at that point, I was like, no, just, you only need one more boss, just go. Like it is what it is, and especially, like I said, Cecil was carrying 3k health. I was like, you know what, he could just punch his way through. I'll throw a couple lit 3s or viruses or whatever I had to kind of do some damage. The sword growths and rune rings obviously did a little bit, and Rydia doing about 4k with lit 3 was nice, so. But yeah, I thought about it for a split second, but I'm like, you know what, we're in a race, we gotta go. And like I said, Ninja's no slouch. He easily could have had me right then and there. So I was kind of nervous that he was ahead. I made a lot of little mistakes here and there that I thought really cost me. So it was go. But yeah, GG Ninja, by the way, man. Like I said, that guy's no joke.
Absolutely, he did definitely show really great prowess getting through the seed. Was behind at one point and basically caught up just through sheer, way that the things sort of laid out underground for a while. So definitely will be one to watch out for in the waning brackets as well. But again, I just want to say GG's on your win on a very, very well-run race in a seed that was laid out in a little bit of an interesting way with the boss fights that were hitting up on the moon. Did you have any final thoughts for us tonight?
Yeah, no, like I said, yeah, little mistakes to clean up here and there for the next round. No, everything was all good. I appreciate Angie, appreciate Ann. Look forward to getting all the commentary and especially chat to see little things I can pick up here and there and improve my game. Thank you, Neon, for putting this on. And yeah, and thank you, Warling, for tracking. But yeah, and before I go, just want to say, shout out to little Dubward, 5 years old today, just turned 5. So happy birthday to him, and this one's for him.
Happy birthday!
Absolutely, happy birthday to him from all of us here. And again, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. And again, GG's.
Thank you, and GG's Ninja.
All right, and so with that, we are going to sort of rejoin where Ninja is at this point in time. He unfortunately did take a wipe at the end of that alt gauntlet, but he has headed back into it at this point.
I think I know where the mistake was. Eninja put the Avenger on for the third Evil Mask fight, which means Cecil didn't have Crystal Sword damage for the last 2 for the Red Dragons. Yeah,
didn't have Crystal Sword for the Red Dragons, and that sort of takes a little bit of the granularity out a little bit. In some ways, it might be wise for Eninja to not have Berserk, because you can't really control where that damage is going out on that last Red Dragon fight. And in some ways, you might need to just, heal your people through no matter who can throw a heal at that point, just to ensure they're not going to fall over to a Heat Ray. So it might be safer to not go with that Berserk anyways. We'll see what his strategy is through this time around.
Oh, the problem was he threw the Avenger on the third fight, which means the fourth and fifth fights was just Avenger damage, not big sword damage.
Yeah, and then also it will be safer
Right.
to not have Berserk on
Agreed.
later too.
You bought 50 Bacchus wines. You don't need all of them for the after party.
Exactly. You might as well just chug wine, hope for the best. I think that's going to be a strategy through this time. Let's see how it plays out, as we do see the wine going on both Kane and Cecil here. As Possum's pointing out in chat, having Cecil in the back row would be very helpful as well. Just lower the amount of damage that he's taking from those regular attacks from these enemies to ensure that he stays up as long as possible.
I'm not sure, did Cecil start with a bow?
I don't recall at this point in time. It was so long ago. Everything was different back then. There was so much happening when we first got the Cecil upgraded that I don't think I even noticed what he had equipped at any point in time. I think that short bow kind of makes me think that he did, because I don't think that we found anything better for the Rosa aside from maybe a life staff, but it's hard to say.
The other thing, we have 2 Moon Veils. I can't think of a better time to use them than this gauntlet.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Cecil has fallen here in the second thing, but we are going to have Rosa pick him up with the life spell. As long as that Rosa stays alive, we're good. So there might even be an argument for maybe throw a Moonveil onto Cecil, but also maybe consider throwing one on the Rosa instead, just to keep alive through this point in time. That would be another way through.
That's a good call. That's a good point. Don't Avenger swap here.
Right, we're going to see the boxes going out again. There's the wall onto the evil mask here, and we just need to start getting some heals, hopefully, onto the Cecil and make sure that he lives, and this part is easy. Again, these first 3 fights are not the big threatening ones. It's mostly the red dragons at the end. This is just a matter of trying to chip you down before those ones knock you out.
And that's the problem with Avenger swapping now. That's about 2/3 of your damage gone. Which means those dragon fights just drag on.
Definitely. So a very good heads-up play this time around for Eninja, just relying on those Bacchus wines that he bought to get through instead of using that Avenger to get up and going. Gonna keep all that damage and should sail through this one pretty easily. It's the next one that's probably, to me, the scariest one, because as long as your damage distributes right on the last one, you're not going to have too many problems. But this one's gonna heat ray, and heat ray hurts.
So we see Cecil came in with the Avenger on, so is now just doing Avenger damage, which about half of the Crystal Sword Zerk damage.
Alright, we're going to see the preemptive Cure 4 from Rosa. Ooh, that attack does land on Rosa, so having that Cure 4 queued up is really, really, really helpful there, managing to give her the best chance possible of staying alive. Going to look like trying to decide what to do with this Palom at this point. Maybe going to just wait and possibly throw a heal with him.
Tybalt in chat making a good point. Ninja may have the dragons flipped. Because the other angry dragons up here resist Holy.
That is a possibility. Are we setting up Palom to be an archer here? Still just kind of deciding what to do with the Palom. Everyone's going to live through Heat Ray. That's really good. That's really important.
I believe Heat Ray is based off the dragon's current HP.
I don't recall, because to be honest, like Possum just said in the chat, this is the hardest gauntlet. Everyone always avoids it, and I don't remember what these red dragons do anymore.
They double punch, and they use Heat Ray. Actually, if
It's
they punch
been
hard,
15 years since I've seen
Wow.
someone take this gauntlet. There's a Dragoon Spear.
Wow, that drop. Put that on Kane and turn him loose for this one.
How rare is the Dragoon Spear drop out of a Red Dragon fight, by the way? I'm sure someone knows. I need to know this now. That's gotta be a pretty low chance to have seen here.
Rosa barely tanking the hit, but 10 HP more than she needed. I'd have to look it up. The Dragoon Lance is either the 3rd or 4th slot from this.
I'm doing my best to look it up as we are going here, but Ninja is much safer this time around.
Red Dragon, the wiki doesn't have the drop table. Well, it does, it's not there.
That is, it seems, the
it's the 3rd slot.
3rd tier. So
Crystal Ring is
not
rarest.
As bad, yeah, not as bad as we thought.
But still a fantastic drop.
Yeah, fortunately, some less than fantastic drops going on. Both mages are down. Cecil just got the double hit, got 1600 health, knocked out. This is a little bit rough here.
That's one down. Kane should be able to bring this home. I think he's got some sort of dragon protection on.
As long as Kane can get it down, that's all that matters. But it looks like Cecil is through.
Good job on Eninja, adjusting and getting through that fight.
Absolutely, you know, he's really plugged away at this seed and done a great job getting there. That is his go mode. He is ready to head down, going to pick up that Excalibur and gonna head back up and save first, which I 100% agree.
I will not fault anyone for safety saving after that.
I think at this point in time, especially with no life pots, this is a really scary Z fight coming up. And it's going to be a testament to his skill getting through this as best as he can at this point. So this is going to be a very tense moment no matter what. Going to raise the battle speed back to 4. Had it at 6 for the gauntlet to maybe make it go a little bit smoother, which was a bit of a good heads-up play there as well. And he just has the walk now.
Eninja, one more time in the menu, please. Fairly certain that Avenger is still on.
It might be, but it's hard to say whether or not that will matter too much here in the end. I kind of feel like might get through this with the damage regardless, so it might kind of only matter a little bit. We'll see.
It's a sizable damage increase coming in with Crystal Sword versus coming with Avenger.
Absolutely, but I think he can get through regardless, and that's what'll end up mattering in the end here, is whether or not he can just get through this fight, because at this point, you're out of life potions, you're really running on kind of the fumes of what you have left.
That's true.
Just getting through this fight is all that matters.
Also, I think with the Avenger in slot 2, he may end up just throwing the crystal second time, or mimicking the crystal throw and immediately prompting the nerf and counter nuke. I could be wrong, it was changed, I just didn't notice it.
We will see here with the shake. Nope, that Avenger is still on. Here goes the crystal out from Neridia here. Here's another question, is do we have a Silk Web on Ninja's side to slow this Zemus down? Because I don't think we do, and that could also play into this a little bit too as well.
Since you have an Avenger on, the Silk Web slowing Zemus down here doesn't do all that much. It just slows him down from RA 1 to 2, and you still have your Berserker buffering him.
Alright, we are into the fight for real at this point in time. That swing from Kane unfortunately whiffed as well. Trying to decide what to use to nerf this Big Bang with off of the Palom, as Kane getting another swing in, and now just sitting on this Rose's turn waiting this counter Big Bang, or counter nuke rather. Counter Big Bang would be worse.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Oh, use a spell on me? Here, take 2400 to the face to everyone.
New wacky flag idea, random encounters can counter with anything in the game.
So you've chosen something worse than afflicted. Got it.
Absolutely. Look, I don't consider it a successful Final Fantasy IV free enterprise restream for myself if I don't come up with at least one terrible wacky flag on the way through 6.8. Here's my pitch for today.
That's a good one. I approve.
Ninja threw the counter nuke with no problem at this point. Gonna get this Big Bang coming out. Already got the heal queued up with Rosa. We're pretty safe right now.
Yeah, I know Eninja is familiar with lower power berserkers like this.
Definitely.
Propness point saying Witch Bang, that could work too. Big Bang is now replaced with a random spell. How about that?
It's interesting. That could be an interesting newbie helper flag in some ways, but you kind of got to learn how to get through it eventually, and I think Eninja is showing some great prowess in getting through this at this point in time right now.
Big Bang.
Really good to swing around here.
Big Bang replaced with Fatal, not the scariest thing to beat. Big Bang replaced with Meteo? Good luck. You can reflect Fatal, you can't reflect Meteo. Big Bang replaced Fatal.
Alright, here comes the second Big Bang at this point. We will see what happens here. Rosa's in a bit of a safer position on Eninja's side than she was on Dubward's side. Palom living with 10 HP. Will we get a spell off from him? I know he was casting at that point in time, but it's just lit too, so it won't do a ton.
Palom
that was for a nerf.
Palom will be at 2 when this Cure 4 fires.
Palom will be at 2. Unfortunately, Kane will be on the floor. That nerf hitting a little bit too late. Might want to use Lit 1 or something with a quicker cast
Virus
time for the nerf next time. Virus as well. Virus would be probably the best option here.
It's tough timing something that has a longer cast time to nerf. I prefer, if I'm going to nerf like that, Virus is my usual go-to, or just using a J item.
Absolutely. He wasn't too far off, though, and that's worth noting. You know, almost had that timing there, didn't quite land it. We'll see what happens here. Kamikaze now from Palom, gonna knock out the 1666 health on King Dysmus here just by sacrificing the Palom for it. Life 2 on the Kane, we're already set up for the next Big Bang.
Either Kamikaze doesn't nerf, or that 1600 prompted the face change.
Yeah, it's hard to say. There is the Big Bang. Let's see. Yeah, Rosa very safe here. We're in good shape on Eninja's side. I think he's got this in the bag at this point.
Look, shout out to Cecil taking 1200 from an unearthed Big Bang.
Absolutely. It's worth noting that Eninja is actually a little bit stronger going into this fight than Dubward was on levels, aside from maybe on the Palom. But Eninja's fight was never going to rely on that Palom. That Palom is essentially window dressing for Eninja at this point, and he's taken this out no issue.
Yeah, the big help here was Rosa and Kane both surviving, well, the entire gauntlet. They got the full 600,000 XP from it. That was a bit of a scary nuke target.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like any of these nuke targets are going to be particularly good ones at this point in time. You know, you lose Cecil, you lose damage. You lose Kane, you lose damage. You need the damage to happen.
Cecil and Kane can tank a counter nuke. Rosa can just drop to it.
Yeah, 100%.
They cap at 2,400 damage. And she's probably got some magic defense to mitigate that, but not enough.
Absolutely. And what's the point of going through King Dicemas if you're not going to roll the dice here and there again, though?
Very fair.
Still just plugging away at this fight, though, and again, still looking quite stable.
I think this is the scary Big Bang. I'm fairly certain this is the 9 roll coming up. Or we tipped into Medio, and we're good.
All right, it looks like Eninja is going to be through here.
You don't need to heal, you're out.
Last few swings coming out here. I believe that this one should do it. Maybe one more. Nope.
Oh, that'll do
through.
it. Yeah, sometimes all you need is 2 people hitting things and a healer keeping them standing.
Absolutely, and a very good run from Eninja here to get through with the get around the troubles that he was having earlier in the seed. Very, very GG's to him. We'll see if he wants to pop in for an interview.
GG's to Ninja.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sometimes when you have that little bit of a rough start here and there, like you had with Castle Eblin like that, it's easy to kind of get a bit discouraged. And I think the sort of ability to power through that moment and just keep on playing at the top of your game the rest of the way through, like Eninja did in that mid game, very important. I believe we are joined by Eninja. First of all, GG's on your run today.
GG.
All right,
So, gonna start with the same thing we asked Dubward. How about that Ogopogo spot?
Yeah, about that spot. That's not fun. Luckily, I quite hadn't done my grind before then. Well, guess what? I got my grind there.
Absolutely. And can I just say that I rarely see anyone take that gauntlet, and getting through it with like no life potions was really, really impressive to watch.
Yes, it was something.
Definitely. Sort of going back to the start of the seed, one of the differences between your run and Dubward's run was in party composition. What led to you sort of getting rid of the Tella and taking the Kane?
I'm not real sure. I'm more of a melee party. That's kind of the thing I gravitate around, is melee parties, like more berserker parties, which is a more common thing I've seen in Blue Moon.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the same way with what I tend to do for parties. So I was looking at that, I was like, this is what I would have picked as well. So you did very well on that. Sort of going a bit further forward and like that, were you tempted at all to sort of do a bit more treasure hunting to try and maybe get your Kane anything a little bit better at that point in time before heading into that Eblin Castle, or rather after you got out of that Eblin Castle, or were you pretty much happy once you had, say, that defense sword and that crystal sword?
I was happy with the defense sword and crystal sword. I mean, defense sword is pretty nice for Kane. I mean, it's his third best weapon?
Overall, depending on your level, it's his best weapon.
I think like White Spear, and I think White Spear's better when it comes to attack and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It can vary a little bit just based on the level, and in some cases who you're fighting. Worth noting too, you did go up the tower, the lower tower, and just check the super cannon room. Were you at all tempted to go to the top of the tower and fight that boss, or was that always just a super cannon check?
No, it's just super cannon check only. I knew it didn't have any value to me because it wasn't a boss. I mean, it could have had some value. I mean, it could have been the Rat Tail, Twin Heart, Baron Key, which I know those are ones I'm missing. But I still had tons of checks underground.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it did pay off for you. You basically just sort of ran out the rest of the seed from there at that point in time. It kind of led you in one direction anyways. So just kind of backing up a little bit, when you got through that Golbez fight and you knew you didn't have the life potions at that point, were you tempted to head back and try and hunt for them, or did you just know that you could get through the rest of the underground and say, I'm just going for this? Because you did, again, an amazing job of getting through from there.
Yeah, I just tried to get through it without the life potions.
Dave, did you have any questions for Eninja tonight?
First thing I want to ask you, Ninja,
Yeah.
how many pockets wine did you leave left over for the after party?
Somewhere in the 40s. Yeah, I think I had 40 some.
Okay, that's plenty.
Hey, gotta have them for the after party.
I think you covered the party comp. You covered the. So was there any thought of using Iridia, or was she pretty much destined to be your anchor?
She was destined to be my anchor. I never found any orbs that made her viable as a caster. So she was just satisfied being laying on the ground.
Okay.
Absolutely. And with this race, you do end up heading over to the waning bracket. Are you looking forward to next week's race as well?
I don't know who I have. I think it's whoever Dave played. And I haven't really checked him out very much, and I might do that this week.
Yeah, you do have a week off before that race, so
Yeah.
Are you going to be?
I'll be getting some practice in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ninja, did you have any final thoughts for us tonight?
No, I just want to say thank you, Dave. Thank you, Nth, for comms. Neon Gray for rolling this well. I would say Dumpster Fire Received because of that alt gauntlet. And Warlink for tracking. Or restream. Sorry. I'm just a little tired today.
That's all right. That's perfectly understandable. I will go ahead and let you get some rest then. Thank you so much for the race tonight. And again, GG's on a very well-run race.
Yep. You have a good night.
Get some rest, Ninja.
Yep.
And with that, I do believe that is going to mark the end of our races for tonight. Well, not for tonight, for this race tonight. Sorry, talking is difficult sometimes. We do have one more race coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, so in about 45 minutes or so, over on the flagship Free Enterprise channel. Just remove the 2 from your Twitch bar right now if you wish to be over there. That is going to be between Mike 34 and Possum Morpheus, so a very exciting race there. And it looks like we're going to be heading over to Tall Grant, who is doing a Blue Moon async race. If you are looking towards running that one, the ID is JG5CI1. If you do not wish for spoilers, please make sure to hop out now. And again, no spoilers for this race once we get over there. Another quick thank you to both of our runners, as well as Neon Gray and Warlink behind the scenes. And a thank you again to you, Dave, for a very fun time on the commentary tonight.
Thank you for being here with me, Nth. Thank you for keeping me in line a little bit. And enjoyed Telegrand's stream, and we hope to see you back for the awesome Mike race at 11.
Absolutely. So for all of us here, again, thank you all for joining us, and we will catch you in the next race. Have a good night.